the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in the classes on Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Param Ananda Pathaya Premavarshi Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute. Namo Pankajanaabhaya Namo Pankajamaline Namo Pankajanitraya Namaste Pankajangriye. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Grantraj Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 7, Chapter 9. Prahlad Maharaj pacifies Lord Nrsingadev with his prayers. So in the last few verses, we were discussing how compassionate Prahlad Maharaj is. In all these verses, actually, he is praying, for all of us who are so attached to wealth, money, family, country, society. And Prahlad Maharaj wants our betterment so we can take to Krishna consciousness. And we also learn the emphasis of sharing or preaching Krishna consciousness to the best of our ability. So let's study the next verse, text number 44. Prayena deva munaya swavimuktikama maunam charanti vijanena prarthanishtaha naitan vihaya kripanan vimukshayeko nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupashye. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord Nrsingadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to the shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naiva udvije para duratyaya vitranyaha. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 6, 17:28. Narayana para sarve nakutaśana bibhiyati swargapavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven or in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. Wow. So devotee lives with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotees have no such interest. He is not interested in the so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest part of the world, where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish material activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj says clearly, Nayam tvad asya sharanam brahmato anupashye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe, life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get a clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. The members of Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of Hare Krishna movement. The members of Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. I repeat, members of Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious persons avoid all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Wow. Isn't that a brilliant verse with a brilliant purport? That this verse shows the reality of life, how to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy in this world. No one wants to be miserable. But Prahlad Maharaj is giving the real formula to be happy. The real formula is not to go in the Himalayas and do silent meditation or, follow the path of jnana or Maun Vrata. Some people don't speak. Well, speaking is the ability given by Krishna. We must not speak nonsense, but we must engage in reading and hearing Krishna Katha. We must engage our tongue in reading Bhagavad Gita, sharing Bhagavad Gita's. The emphasis of this verse is to share the message what we have received. Prahlad Maharaj said, I don't want to go alone. Some people are just interested in their own deliverance. That is not the quality of a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means compassion. Compassion is broad-minded, so that everyone can take to the uh, path of bhakti. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj is wanting here. I do not wish to be liberated alone. That's what was Srila Prabhupada's mood, as we were discussing yesterday also. His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj exactly said the same thing before coming to US in his last visit. I do not want to stay here and just be peaceful, and my disciples are at the forefront. You do not have to just be at Radha Kund or go to Himalayas and just stay there and do silent bhajan. That is not the mood of ISKCON movement. The mood is wherever we are, whether it is Tampa, whether it is New York, whether it is Mumbai or Tallahassee or any part of the world, we stay there, do our best, sincere bhakti, and help this to grow. And then Prabhupada will empower us. And in that situation, devotee is always happy. Prabhupada is writing, a devotee does not live in heaven or hell, he always lives in spiritual world. One who has that consciousness, one who has that purity, is always living in the spiritual world, is always fearless, whether at heaven or hell. Na kutaschan bibiyati. He is not afraid of anything. Why? Because he engaged in one thing. He is always engaged in bhakti. So for him, such a person is always happy. And if we are not happy, the members of Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. So the real formula to be happy is to increase our faith, to increase our devotion, to increase our sincerity and seriousness on the path of Krishna. Thinking my money will give me happiness, or my wife or husband or children, my parents will give me happiness, my bank balance, my beautiful looks, or my home or car, all this is phantasmagoria or illusion. But real happiness comes from bhakti, from Bhagavan and Bhakta, the three Bhakti, Bhagavan and Bhakta. These are the eternal things. I was just so shocked to hear, two big things. One, like today in our company, they did some merger and like 5 key people lost their jobs, like just in a moment of seconds, and they were all like good, great people. Like they were on like the senior leadership of the company and gone. And one suddenly, one of our dear, friends' son, very young, suddenly, and he was fine, and suddenly he got, something really severe, and he's in the hospital. So we request everyone to please pray for him. But everything was fine, and then suddenly something, this is the nature of this material world, that it's always changing. The real happiness comes from Krishna consciousness only. The more we are convinced of this fact, the more we will take shelter. One cannot be happy without taking shelter. Prabhupada is mentioning that point like 4 times in this verse, that one can only be happy by taking shelter of Krishna and doing one's best in one's bhakti, and also sharing with others to the best of our abilities. That is the mood. And pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition, because Krishna, okay, Prahlad Maharaj was like this. A normal person, imagine the atrocities what Prahlad had gone through. No one can imagine even, going through such hard difficulties. But Prahlad was happy. Maro bhi, rakho bhi, ami to tumar. Krishna, you embrace me, you kill me, whatever you do, I'll always be your devotee. I'm happy. Good day, bad day, it's all relative. It's all your arrangement. Why I should be unhappy? So again, that's a very high standard, but at least we should aspire, so one day we can get there. Any other comments, questions anyone has? Yes, Prabhuji, please.
Hare Krishna. Tanvat everybody. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? My internet is not powerful, so that's why. Sorry.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. A question. Let's discuss it. In the last paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is saying, the member of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna one cannot be happy. So how are we going to convince? How are we going to come to that conviction that Krishna is the Supreme Person of God and without Krishna I will not be happy? How we are going to convince? Any feedback?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Since Krishna is the source of happiness, only by connecting to the source of happiness, one can be happy.
But how am I going to convince by heart? I can say that. How am I going to convince? I got the knowledge, I convinced, that is good. It's just what you're saying is good, but how am I going to really convince? Srila Prabhupada always asks that question. Are you convinced? Are you convinced that the Krishna is the Supreme Person of God? Are you really convinced? If I'm convinced, then I will be able to say others. Is that it? So how am I going to convince?
Thank you, Prabhuji. I think that is by ourselves showing that we are happy by following Krishna consciousness.
Are we really happy?
Yes, we should be happy. Like Prabhupada says in all of his books in the back, it says, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So we have to, a happy devotee is the best devotee. So only by example, we can convince others that they can also enjoy Krishna consciousness and be happy. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else want to play? I'm bringing this point because I heard today Lord Chaitanya loved the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruv Maharaj very much. And this chapter, 9th chapter, is very important, very, very interesting chapter because he's teaching us the teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. This is also important. That's why I'm bringing up this point. I don't want to take much time, but this is an important point to this. Go ahead, Sudhir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice question.
Dhanwad.
Prabhuji, so according to my neophyte understanding.
Don't worry. I'm lower than all you neophyte. Believe me, I'm lower than all of you. So don't bring up that point. Go ahead.
Even in this coronavirus, we are able to, if we are able to chant Hare Krishna and sing Hare Krishna, and we are able to, meet as all the devotee satsang and all, only because of, I have seen so many people, my friends are getting depressed, this is practical thing, Prabhuji. And whenever, even before coming into Krishna consciousness, we used to get, go to malls or, wherever there, and we used to get very, very, at the end of the day, we were, even in the weekends, we were miserable. But now, after coming to Krishna consciousness, even weekdays or weekends, even coronavirus or, anything, we are very happy and, taking the names of Lord Krishna and just following the 4 regulative principles, and this is one of my understanding.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I just wanted to say that believing in the Shastra, then probably I'll come to know that.
But belief can change, isn't it?
So that's what that verse is basically the.
If I find some others better Shastra than this, my belief can change, isn't it? Isn't it? If I hear some higher, some other from other sampradaya, if I hire someone, I hear someone, because we have so many people, so many coming out with great lectures and great tapes are outside available for all the big people from other sampradayas or not even sampradayas. They consider them to be God, and if we hear sometimes we start believing that this belief can change what we're doing every day, isn't it? It can, isn't it? And it has happened to many devotees. Even.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. As you said that our belief may change, but Prabhupada said that there are like lot of Purana. But if you take a shelter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the lotus word from Lord Shri Krishna. And in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, he said, Eko Putra Devaki Putra Evacha. So we have to believe the one Shastra which is coming from Lord Krishna's mouth. And that's what, if we stick to that one Shastra, that will help us.
That's right. Mataji, one Shastra is there, Bhagavad Gita, but if his Bhagavad Gita is also translated by so many people, so many authors, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatams are also spoken by so many gurus and so many. So, I mean, you are right. If we accept the Srila Prabhupada Bhagavad Gita as it is, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is he has given as it as he has translated without mental concoction, because Srila Prabhupada said that I'm not citing, Krishna is writing. Krishna has used me as an instrument. And that's why when the book came out, he was so happy to read those. So Srila Prabhupada is asked, Srila Prabhupada, do you have written the books? Why are you reading it? He said, no, I've not written it. Krishna has written. I'm just was an instrument and they feel happy. So I understand your point. But the point is that and you are right, that yeah, if you convince. So Srila Prabhupada said, and this is important because he would always ask his disciples, you want to preach, but I have to be convinced myself that Krishna is Supreme Person. If I'm not convinced, I'm going to tell others. So Srila Prabhupada said two things. One, he says the Sankirtan will keep you happy. And the second thing is the books will convince you by reading it, discussing it. If these two things are there, then you will be able to fix up in Krishna consciousness. I'm learning myself after so many years. So I'm not a great devotee, believe me. I'm just learning and I'm trying to share with all of you in this group, it together. That's what I heard. And that is reality.
Yes, Prabhu, you are right. Means with your association, we are learning a lot of things. So thank you for your nice points, and you bring up like new topic. So that is really helpful. Thank you, Prabhu.
And I have one more point in this purport. This purport of Srila Prabhupada and the slokas of the Srila Prabhupada, the Prahlad Maharaj are very, very powerful slokas in this chapter. And here it says that in the second paragraph, the secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and jnanis. So what is that? How is that? I mean, am I willing to go to the hellish planet and preach? Am I willing to go to the Bowery in the east of New York and want to preach? What is that means? What does that mean? Please, let's share about that. And I'm sorry I'm taking much time, but if we just keep reading and going, then we will not able to, absorb. And I'm sorry taking your time. Let's take the time in the middle of this. So how that time is gonna come in my life that I'll be happy. Doesn't matter wherever I will be in Krishna consciousness. What is that? How is that gonna happen? Can we share some thoughts? Come on, Prabir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dandavad. Nice to see you. We just live 1 mile away and we cannot even see each other, isn't it? Go ahead.
Prabhu, the secret of success for the devotees, one is like we have a process of sadhana bhakti. So following that process, and I think the most important thing, the conviction also comes from associating with the devotees, advanced devotees. In Rupa Goswami's, I think in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he was saying that we always need to associate with the advanced devotees who are higher than. Then we will learn their knowledge, their faith, and their surrender, and that will also bring the conviction that this is the only way we can Krishna, without Krishna we cannot be happy. And as you said, like the secret of the success, one of the success for the devotees, again, I will say associating with the devotees, because if we don't associate, if we do mistake, nobody is there to correct me. As we see that in Bharat Maharaj cases, that so I think that's one of the thing. And as you mentioned, like to chanting, to keep our sadhana, and so that is also a factor. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. So you have to help me to correct me.
Oh, no, no.
Yes, I'm serious. What other? You are all what you're saying is all correct, but I want to add one more point. Anybody else?
It is Navada Bhakti.
Navada Bhakti, yes, that's true. What will happen is that as we practicing Krishna consciousness, as we are following, as he said, Prabhu said, association, the convinced people who are already convinced, that will be one factor, that will be main factor. And as we practice in Krishna consciousness, what will happen? Right now, we know that I'm a spirit soul and there is a super soul within my heart. We know that. We have read from the knowledge, we got it, that, right? We got the knowledge, so we know now. But as we practice in Krishna consciousness, that feelings will come within my heart. And that feelings will come in such a way that I will convince myself that feelings itself will come because I have desire. I have desire to be Krishna conscious. I have desire to be, in the Srila Prabhupada said, give one life, you're just one life and you will go back to Godhead. No more other lives. Just give this life to Krishna consciousness, right? So if I have desire to be going back to Godhead and I have desire to serve, then as we practice Krishna consciousness, the Krishna will give that feelings, because feelings is the most important. Usually, feelings will give that I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, and that feelings will come. And when that feelings will come, then all this material, here it is written, here it is written in the purport. Karma is therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and Gyanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. So karmis and the persons who don't have that feelings of the practice of Krishna consciousness, and they don't have knowledge at the same time, they feel to be happy just by making material adjustment. But in the Krishna consciousness, as we practice more, that feelings will come, and we will automatically come to realize, we will see ourselves that no, this is not a real enjoyment. This is not real enjoyment. And therefore, further verses we will hear about the sex life. Prahlad Maharaj will talk about that. Itching sensation, that is difficult to give up. So that feeling will come within my heart. It will come. And then we will realize that there's super soul, we hear it. And that is that was Srila Prabhupada. You see. So that this is the important point in this. And of course, Gyanis, they just want to become one. But we don't want to become one because we already know we are individual, we are separate. We are spirit, soul, and Paramatma is we are individual. We are there. We are individual now. We will be individual in future, and the Lord is there. We cannot become one with the Lord. Sorry, thank you. Sorry for taking Subha Vilas so much time of your time, but thank you.
Hare Krishna. Please say like that. Any other comments anyone has? Any questions? Kishori Mataji, you want to add something? Okay.
Sorry, Prabhu, I'm still not able to come to Zoom as quickly as would want. So thank you, Bhadra Prabhu, for such a wonderful meditation and absorption in each and every verse of this chapter. It's really amazing. Thank you, Shubhavilas Govind Prabhu. Main point here is he's very much stressing on this fact that Prahlad Maharaj is really interested in going back to Godhead with everyone. He does not want to be liberated alone. And when one person doesn't want to get liberated alone, then he leaving aside all the poor fools and rascals. So if the poor fools and rascals are in Narka, then he will go to Narka. Swarga, it says, Lord Shiva is saying this verse to Parvati, Swarga Pavarga Narakeshu. For a devotee, the heaven or hell does not matter, because what Prahlad Maharaj here is saying that he will go after each poor person and rascal, and he may be in heaven or hell, but he will go and help them liberate. And we see Prahlad Maharaj's mood in Vasudev Datta during Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Vasudev Datta and Haridas Thakur, both of these wonderful, exalted, extremely exalted devotees, they carry spirit of Prahlad Maharaj. Some say that Prahlad Maharaj appeared as them during Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And we see the same thing repeated. Haridas Thakur was incessantly chanting 24 hours a day. Anybody who came in touch with Haridas Thakur, even the prostitute, became Krishna conscious. So this is the spirit of giving Krishna consciousness. It doesn't, and as we also read in this chapter elsewhere, our last chapter, Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsingo, Srila Prabhupada translates that as whenever you think of Lord Nrsingadev, he appears. So we are not in Swarga or Narka. Whenever we are thinking of Lord Nrsingadev, we are with Lord Nrsingadev. If you recently heard His Holiness Radhanath Swami's class, he is glorifying Bhakticharu Swami. And if you leave for to doing some errand and come back to that Zoom session, for a few minutes, you don't understand if he's glorifying Krishna or he's glorifying Bhakticharu Swami. Because it's an exalted devotee sees another devotee as Krishna's representative, as a pure representative. And he does not see difference between devotee and Lord in that sense. He considers other devotee to be as exalted as Lord Krishna. So this is the spirit. This is the spirit, and this is what we want to share with people. That because this is ultimate peace formula. This is what will really make a person happy, is to know that Krishna is here. Whenever we think of him, he is here. Whenever we see his devotee, he is here. And when he is here, then what difference does it make if it's heaven or hell? Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Hare Krishna. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Nityam. Okay, we'll read the next verse. Someone who has not read for this week would like to read. Who has not got chance? You can raise your hand so I know. Yes, sir, please.
Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Text 45. Jat moithuna adi grihamedi sukham hitucham kandu yanena karayar iva dukha dukham tripayanti neha kripana bohu dukha bhaja kandu tivan Manoshijam Vishaheto Dhira. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sex life is compared to the rubbing of two hands to relieve an itch. Grihamedis, so-called grihastas, who have no spiritual knowledge, think that this itching is the greatest platform of happiness, although actually it is a source of distress. The Kripanas, the fools, who are just the opposite of the Brahmanas, are not satisfied by repeated sensuous enjoyment. Those who are dhira, however, who are sober and who tolerate this itching are not subjected to the sufferings of fools and rascals. Purport. Materialists think that sexual indulgence is the greatest happiness in this material world, and therefore they make elaborate plans to satisfy their senses, especially the genitals. This is generally found everywhere, and specifically found in the Western world, where there are regular arrangements to satisfy sex life in different ways. Actually, however, this has not made anyone happy. Even the hippies, who have given up all the materialistic comforts of their fathers and grandfathers, cannot give up this sensational happiness of sex life. Such persons are described here as Kṛṣṇas, misers. The human form of life is a great asset, for in this life one can fulfill the goal of existence. Unfortunately, however, because of a lack of education and culture, people are victimized by the false happiness of sex life. Prahlad Maharaj therefore advises one not to be misled by this civilization of sense gratification, and especially not by sex life. Rather, one should be sober, avoid sense gratification, and be Krishna conscious. The lusty person who is compared to a foolish miser never gets happiness by sense gratification. The influence of material nature is very difficult to surpass, but as stated by Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Mam evoje prapaddante mayam etam torantite. If one voluntarily submits to the lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa, he can be saved very easily. In reference to the low-grade happiness of sex life, Jamunacharya says in this connection, Jodda bodhi mamo cheto Krishna padarobinde nabo nabo rasha dhama nudyata rantum ashit tada bodhi boto nari sangame smarayam mane bhavati mukha vikaro shustu nisti banamcha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Kṛṣṇa, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. Jamunacharya had formerly been a great king who enjoyed sexual happiness in various ways, but since he later engaged himself in the service of the Lord, he enjoyed spiritual bliss and hated to think of sex life. If sexual thoughts came to him, he would spit with disgust. Hare Krishna. So here, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prahlad Maharaj, actually comparing the sex life, it's like in itching. In this regard, I was remembering once His Holiness Srila Giriraj Maharaj came to Alachua, and one of our devotee friends' house, he gave a lecture, and he was telling his life. He had a girlfriend, and Maharaj and his girlfriend both came to Boston Temple to see Srila Prabhupada. Then his girlfriend never came. So one devotee asked Maharaj that, Maharaj, how did you control? Then Maharaj gave that example that Prabhupada told him that it's like a eczema, itching. If you itch, it's going to cause bleed more, but it's never going to be relieved. Prabhupada gave him the example and told him, and then he took that instruction, and which never actually deviate him. Even his parents alluring of money, he was never deviated. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying that this kind of like a, when we rub with our hands, we have some kind of skin disease. It never relieved. Actually, it caused more bleed, and we rub more and cause more bleed. And Prahlad Maharaj also here, we heard that term, Grihomedis and the Grihastas. Grihomedis is householder, those who don't have Kṛṣṇa in the center, and Grihastas, those who have Kṛṣṇa in the center. And Prabhupada is saying that our whole world is actually running after that sex life. Everything is starting from our working, our if we look different kind of amusements, all these are to actually get us into the it's kind of like sexual. And there are, it's not like a sexual thing, is it's like a not a sex. There are other varieties, types of also sexual, kind of like adoration, proudness. Those are also like kind of like a sexual indulgence. So Prabhupada is saying that here, by engagement in this kind of things, it's not going to satisfy us. It's never going to help make us happy. And the reason is that those are all temporary. Those are not permanent. The relationships are temporary. We see that we got married, and that relationship doesn't stay like that. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, in one of his lectures, he was also emphasizing on that part, that when we even we see that even after knowing each other, a boy or girl, they get married, but that doesn't stay like that. But our relationship with Kṛṣṇa is everlasting, and it's gradually, it's never actually diminish. The service, when we do service, that service never, our desire, intention, it doesn't diminish. We may see as a neophyte, sometimes we may have difficulty to do that, but we get more, we associate with the devotees, and by devotees association, we get more stimulation to continue our service. So that is one of the important things about the devotees association. Even in Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, those things he outlined in his Madhurya Kadambini, that those things can be happen to especially with a neophyte devotee like me. But associating with the devotees, we will be again stimulated, and then we will gradually, as Bhadraprabhu was saying, that feelings are going to be there, that our desire to serve Kṛṣṇa, the pleasure, it's going to be ever increasing. It never decreases. But in material world, everything is going to be lost. So that's why Srila Prahlad Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada is hammering us to do that practice, to do the devotional service practice, so that we can develop that everlasting, ever increasing relationship with Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna Prabhu, back to you. Please add or correct.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for sharing that wonderful pastime of Prabhupada and Giriraj Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is so clearly telling the reality of life. The whole world is actually running after sex. One of the highest searched terms on internet is sex, actually. And this is why? Because the material world is upside down. a reflection, a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the topmost thing is love, Krishna Prema. And when the love in the perverted reflection is lust, and which is, lust has deeper meaning, but in the modern terms, it is highly seen in the illicit sex life. So, yes, one must certainly overcome this. Sex before marriage or outside marriage is really, really bad and a big crime. And even in the marriage life, it must be the ideal standard is, as per Bhagavad Gita 7.11, Dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. That is, Krishna is saying, I am that sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. That means for Krishna conscious children, like so many devotees have for Krishna conscious children who are present in this group. So that's the ideal standard. Srila Rishabdev, in his teachings to his sons, the first teaching he gives is this one actually. Don't lead a life like cats and dogs, or like dogs and hogs, because the pleasures available to them, referring to sexual pleasures or pleasure to eat nicely, it is not the highest pleasure. The highest pleasure is the highest happiness is Premananda, Krishna consciousness, Prema Pumartho Mahan. Dharma, Artha, Kama are not the real goal of life, but in today's day and age, only Artha and Kama, only wealth and opposite sex. This is the real goal of life for majority. I mean, all the population. Two things everyone is searching for is wealth and opposite sex. No one is searching for dharma. Hardly anyone is searching for kama. And what to speak of prema, the topmost love? No one has time for that because everyone is too busy, occupied in that artha and kama. So Rishabdev is saying that human life is much advanced, much higher consciousness. So one must use it for the right purpose, not just like dogs and hogs. And no one is, is really happy, as Prabhupada mentioned in the previous verse, that without Krishna one cannot be happy. And how we can be convinced? Of course, so many devotees shared wonderful reasons. One is also, I was thinking, by experience and contemplation. We think of in our own lives and in the lives of others, we may know. Well, that person, let's say a big Bollywood star, has good wealth, has good body to enjoy different pleasures, has good, car, has good home, still unhappy. Why? And we have also gone through so many things in life. Well, my job does not give me real happiness. So many things are uncertain. Like I gave the example. This is a real thing. This morning, sudden meeting, and say 5 people gone, and 5 key people, and they were not like bad employees. They were really good people. Suddenly, in a fraction of a second, gone. And wealth is also like that. Family is also like that, just in a fraction of a second. So even when we contemplate or reflect on the life, oh, that person had everything, but still he committed suicide. Oh, that person had everything, still Michael Jackson, so much wealth, so much opposite sex, so much this, that, but still inside shallow. So with that contemplation also one will able to understand to a higher purpose. And of course, other reasons which wonderful devotees gave, like higher association, reading Shastras, etc., contemplation, nourishing our intelligence, practicing, certainly great. So yeah, I was sharing that in material world, the topmost thing in the spiritual world becomes the topmost thing in the, becomes the lowest. No one wants to be a servant of anyone. And the lowest thing becomes the topmost. So in this material world, the topmost thing is sex life. So everyone is blinded. One becomes blind to that. Any other comments before we stop this discussion? Yes, Prabhu, please.
I know it is time to wind up, but just the one sentence here. It says that Prahlad Maharaj saying is actually a suffering. In this shloka, it's a suffering. So he's saying that by your mercy, I will become wise, and wise means I will be able to tolerate the lust born of my mind. So main thing is the mercy of the pure devotee of the Lord. Request for the mercy, pray for the mercy. Because the sex desire is very difficult to give up. Doesn't matter who you are. Srila Prabhupada used to say that when he was in India, he said to why people are bowing down to me. You know that? He said that to ask his devotee, his devotee. Because he said, I'm free from the sex. But still Srila Prabhupada was also praying all the time for the mercy of his spiritual master. So the point was the mercy of the spiritual master, mercy of pure devotee. Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna, thank you, Prabhuji. Okay, anything else before we stop today's discussion? Okay, so thank you so much, dear Vaishnavas, for joining. We will stop here and continue tomorrow with the next verse. Shri Nrsingadev Bhagwan ki jai, Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Shri Kantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.